to the when we beating it up, we splash it, hit it.
That's right.
You know, smash it, and all these terms when it comes to the very same womb that we come from, brother.
That's right. Yes, sir. Clearly, brother. That shows that there's some clearly some self-hatred from that womb that we should honor and pay homage to, that bore us. But then also, of course, you have the responsibility of the most of the executives who some are black, as they said. I think his label, of course, was L.A. Reid, but we know ultimately that decision most of the time is made by a few Zionists that are in control that can say, as they said to Michael Jackson, go back and change that lyric. There will be no Jew me, screw me, everybody do me. On all I want to say is they don't really care about us. Talk about the responsibility that they bear as well to make those artists, because I do remember Al Sharpton saying with the election of Barack Obama, or selection of a black man with a black woman in the White House, that artists, in particular in the hip-hop industry, would begin to clean up their lyrics. But it seemed like after Obama became the president, the lyrics got worse, not better.
They got worse. You're absolutely correct. And not only that, Young Buck from the G Unit.
Yes, sir.
They forced that brother to go take an entire song off his album.
Yes, sir.
Simply because the same violence that he was showing on 12 other songs, when it came to the 13th song, he became violent against his enemy and his oppressor, some Europeans.
Yes, sir.
They didn't want him to do that now.
That's right.
Subsequently, shortly after that, they kicked him out of the G Unit, and he tried to commit suicide.
That's right. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now listen, one critical thing that you just mentioned, I don't want to lose my point.
Yes, sir.
Mountain Dew, Pepsi, and the rest of these people that quietly sign these backdoor deals, these bloodthirsty deals with some of these artists.
That's right.
And don't groom them to be these positive kind of spokesmen for the brand.
Right.
But nonetheless, let them continue the foolishness and disrespect black people. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right. Yes, sir. Clearly.
So rather than going over the lyrics and going over this man's track record, and say, listen, this is a brand that's been in business for 100 years, yada, 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 whoopie, whoop. We might want to kind of be a little bit sensitive when it comes to raping women.
Right.
Might want to be a little bit sensitive when it comes to shooting people in the head and the continuance of violence that you talk about in your songs.
That's right. Yes, sir.
We might want to be a little bit sensitive when it comes to crack and Molly and these drugs. You might want to be a little bit sensitive. Oh, let me tell you something, Brother Darren. They're very sensitive when it comes to homosexuality.
That's right. Yes, sir. That's
they're very sensitive
to that. Yes, sir. So I'm saying overly sensitive, brother. Overly sensitive, you know. Esther,
they don't touch that, but they're so quick to crack a Molly and rape a black woman.
That's right,
so quick to crack Molly and sprinkle it in your weed and get high, and all of a sudden now you want to shoot 4 or 5 dudes up on the block.
That's right.
Come on, man.
Yes, sir. Well, there has to be some consequences and repercussions. So, you know, I stand with the family of Emmett Till until they have an apology or until they say, you know, as Dr. King called for the boycott of, at that time, the night before he was assassinated. Again, Coca-Cola, Wonder, I think it was Wonder Bread and Seal Test Milk at that time that he was calling for the boycott. I think we have to continue to use the power of economic sanctions and withdraw as any other civilized people would do against any of these artists or corporations that are violating, of course, our women and particularly our legacies. We got to protect our legacy, respect our legacy, and never neglect our legacy. Speaking of that, before we get into this Illuminati.
Hold on, wait 1 second. What we need to do also, brother, is make a list.
Yes, sir.
And make it public.
That's right.
Of a list of all these rappers that are in bed with these multinational corporations and put them on Front Street.
That's right.
And warn them. We're not going to keep being reactionaries.
That's right. It's a must.
We're going to take the fight to them. We're going to let them know that you're in bed with these people and you feel you want to make songs disrespecting black women, disrespecting those that are slain in the foundation and the family, then we'll deal with you. We'll put you on Front Street.
That's right.
You and the multinational corporation.
Yes, sir. Clearly, that's what we have to do. Again, family, just tuning in, having a conversation with Brother Professor Griff from Public Enemy. Speaking of protecting our legacy and respecting our legacy, I said to my audience yesterday, with this NBA player, this journeyman, this third-rated center to probably between him and his brother, they never won a NCAA championship, NBA championship, or anything else, Brother Griff. But on the weekend and the day that we would stop and commemorate and educate the world about Muhammad Ali coming out and refusing to be inducted into the United States military for the Vietnam War, that you would have Sports Illustrated, rather than put Muhammad Ali picture on the front page, they would say that this is the gay athlete, not a gay athlete, but the definite article, the gay athlete, and Jason Collins, and talk about how that is disrespectful to our legacy and everything, of course, as I said, is about timing. There's no such thing as a coincidence, that this clearly occurred on the weekend and the same time that we would be commemorating Ali 45 years later, taking the courageous stand that he took, as you have taken in Public Enemy, to be stripped, but of course only to be redeemed and be rewarded in terms of history, saying that, again, whatever they've tried to do to Ali and to Public Enemy and to Professor Griff, at the end of the day, you'll be stopped. You can't be stopped, and you'll be back on top in terms of history rewarding what you have done. Thoughts and comments on that?
Well, you know something, good brother. You and I both, being who we are, and soldiers in the war to defend our people, and on these different battle fronts.
Yes, sir.
We know and understand. We don't get into the whole bashing homosexual thing.
No.
But there's some points and some things going on behind the scenes.
That's right.
That we need to speak about. I just have some basic questions, and maybe the people that are listening can help me answer these questions. Why is it so important that he upstage Muhammad Ali? That's number one.
That's right.
Why on the cover? Let me tell you something. There's LeBron James and Kobe Bryant and other brothers, athletes, Gabby Douglas and whoever else have been breaking records and doing a tremendous work in the fields that they're in,
That's
in the
right.
sports that they're in.
That's right.
How come they never made the cover of
Right.
Sports Illustrated with this much fanfare?
Yes.
What is it behind the whole idea of a black man coming out? What is this whole idea of coming out? What is the hidden meaning behind coming out?
That's
what
right.
are you coming out for?
That's right.
What is so significant? There's a lot of homosexuals in sports. We already know that.
That's right. Yes, sir.
What makes this so significant?
Right.
And then why the timing? You said it a few minutes ago. The timing. Why this time?
That's right. Yes, sir. And
we need to understand this particular dynamic, man.
That's right. And one of the other interesting things was that he was playing for the Washington Wizards, and it was just a few years ago when another player that played for the Wizards, Eton Thomas, came out against the war and condemned George Bush. And David Stern in the NBA, of course, couldn't wait to get Eton Thomas out of the NBA and told him sit down and shut up and not get into the politics of what was happening in the world. Look at the hypocrisy of the NBA. And none of the NBA players came to the defense of Eton Thomas. Of course, it was a few years before that the young brother Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Rauf, who became a Muslim and was playing for the Denver Nuggets, and said he would stand out of respect for the United States flag, but he would never take an allegiance to the flag. And you remember how he was, of course, scorned by the NBA and removed out of the NBA ultimately, brother. So
Right. Exactly.
Yes, sir. And I often say, I don't care what you do in the bedroom, but you will never see many of these NBA players, such as a Jason Collins, take a stand on what's happening in the NBA boardrooms in terms of getting black coaches and black owners inside the NBA, man. So, we have to ask those questions. Yes, sir.
But listen, it coincides with what just went down in Boston.
Right.
Now, I know a lot of people saying, now, where is he about to go with this?
Come on, brother.
Boston was a drill, brothers and sisters.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Brothers, even not getting into it in depth, because you're not going to do another program on that and the rest of these false flags.
That's right.
But that was a drill for martial law.
That's right, brother.
We had to know and understand that, man.
That's right.
And then now, if we're at war and we're looking at the chessboard, moving certain pieces, they move the Pope in place to cover the religious aspect.
That's right.
Now, they're disseminating the ranks by propping up the new, check out the language, the new role model.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Which is a gay athlete, a black gay athlete.
Right. Yes, sir.
Now, this is the new role model. So every role model after this, if you're not gay, then you ain't really a role model.
That's right. Yes, sir. Clearly. Talk about that, Brother Griff, as I heard you talk about recently on Alex Jones when you talked about John Coleman, the Committee of 300, and the 21 manifestos of the Illuminati before we get into who is the Illuminati and how they are important on this particular day. But talk about that being one of the 21 manifestos of the Illuminati.
Exactly. They would confuse the gender. They would put in place a one world government, a one world, not the New World Order anymore. It's the one world a government, one world order that they have, and they have to get the political arena in check, the religious arena in check, especially the economic arena and area in check.
That's right.
And they're doing this, and this is that day that they're supposed to commemorate.
Right.
Now, we don't know if large amounts of blood are going to be spilled today to commemorate this day, but we need to keep our eyes on the news, especially globally, to see what goes on today.
Yes, sir.
You understand what I'm saying? We need to keep in mind that a lot of people are waiting around to believe in the Illuminati, and that's not the case, good brother.
Yes,
They're
sir.
not waiting for you to believe in them.
Right.
It's supposed to be a secret society, and there's a lot of things we don't know that they do in secret.
That's right. Yes, sir.
So we need to understand. But this is that day that they gave birth to this particular agenda. Now, aspects of the agenda was already set in place.
Right.
But the story centered around Adam Weishaupt was very, very important because it dealt with canon law, it dealt with occult science, it dealt with black and white magic.
That's right.
It dealt with galvanizing all of the other secret societies and bringing them in line with the agenda.
Yes.
We have to understand that particular thing, and it was done this day back in 1776, I believe.
Yes, sir. And, of course, we have to look at all the days leading up to May the 1st. When you look at the terrorism, when you look at, of course, the sacrifice, when you look at even the fear that you put into the people from the 15th of April up to the 19th or the 20th April, culminating in the birthday of Adolf Hitler, who was in that order, and then continuing from the 19th or the 20th of April up to the day being May the 1st. Talk about some of those significant events, brother.
You know what it is that we should do? We should take history and lay it next to
yes, sir,
the list of those that are directly linked to the Illuminati and see what significance that these people in the Illuminati had on history, not only American history,
that's right,
but global history.
That's right. Yes, sir.
And it will startle and blow some people's mind.
Right. That's right.
To know and understand Hitler's connection to the order.
Yes.
To understand Stalin and the rest of these people that influence history. Who was the gentleman that wrote Morals and Dogma?
You talking about, that was Pike, right?
Exactly.
Right. Albert Pike.
Madame Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley and Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan, and then we could tie that in with some of these other organizations that are operating today, Jehovah's Wickedness and the rest of these people.
That's right. Tying it into, of course, these quasi so-called government organizations from the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergers, Trilateral Commission, Skull and Bones, and others. Talk about that before I get into some of those, at least whites from their perspective, who dared, of course, to expose the conspiracy, from John Todd to Fritz Springmeier to William Cooper to Aaron Russo to Jordan Maxwell and Alex Jones, Lyndon LaRouche, to name a few. Talk about that, if you could, brother.
I can just say, with the list of names that you just read off, one of those particular gentlemen are living out of their office right now.
Yes.
4 of those gentlemen that you mentioned served prison time.
Yes.
3 of those gentlemen that you mentioned are dead.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
That just gives you a hint and a clue as to how deep this thing goes. And you know,
yes,
if they will poison and shoot their own,
that's right,
what they'll do to you and I.
That's right. Yes, sir. Yeah, just lost one the other day. I think Jim Tucker, who would always talk about where the Bilderbergers were going to be meeting. He would think he was working with the American Free Press there in Washington, D.C. Now, of course, I didn't mention David Icke, who's also been one that have exposed them. Again, family, just tuning in, having a conversation with Brother Professor Griff as we talk about some of the 21 manifestos of the Illuminati and looking at their total control and depopulation, Brother Griff. Right now, they've called for reducing the world's population from 7 billion to less than 1 billion, and talk about some of the methods, again, coming out of their manifesto that they have talked about using, and we see that being carried out right now. Talk about some of those, if you could, brother.
Well, they said they was going to reduce the population, and the Global Report 2000 under Jimmy Carter, Zbigniew Brzezinski, said they was going to bring this about.
Yes.
Zbigniew Brzezinski also made some very critical statements that I think it got by a lot of that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan warned us and told us about.
That's right.
And it's not a secret that they had to put a black man in place to open that door back up to the African continent.
That's right.
As I often talk about, as I wrote in my book, Analytics.
Yes.
20 years of interviews and conversations with Public Enemy's Minister of Information. This particular information is very critical and very key, because I don't hear all the people with this clamoring now about Barack Obama. I don't hear it anymore. I don't feel the energy from the Christian right and the Christian left.
Right.
I don't hear it anymore, the black support behind Barack Obama, simply because I think he got caught with his pants down, metaphorically speaking.
Yes, sir.
And I think the cover's been pulled off of the agenda, not necessarily him, but the agenda. I looked at his face on TV yesterday when he's talking about this gay athlete. Yes. Barack Obama don't mean that stuff, man.
Yes, sir. It's the agenda.
He don't mean that. He's reading from the script, man.
That's right, brother. Yes, sir. Clearly. Anybody looking at
he's reading from the script, and like Reagan, if he deviates from the script, they'll pull a bullet in him.
That's right, brother. Clearly.
And he knows that.
That's right. Yes, sir. Talk about, brother, if we could, man, again, as they talked about, depopulation and some of the ways from the famine to